It's funny that you actually brought up Billy Madison. It's like all weekend long, I was on like a retro kick. You know what I mean? Like just watching retro movies. Like I watched The Rock. I watched the Cobra Kai series. Have you seen that?
Have I seen it? Yeah,
like,
that's the greatest thing that's ever been made, in my opinion.
But it's like a remake, but they've done it. They've somehow gained the nostalgia factor back into it. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like, you know, I like look at those episodes and I'm like, dude, I remember Karate Kid. Like it kind of touch, and what they've done an awesome job is kind of touching on each Karate Kid with the villain. Like they brought a villain back. Yeah, I binge watched Cobra Kai all weekend.
And they give you like just enough of it. Like just enough nostalgia. Like they don't overdo it. It's just droplets. Well, it's perfect.
Well, so being my age and watching a kid, like it's literally, I don't know whose the age demographic is, but I'm gonna assume it's not like it has a nostalgia factor. I shouldn't probably binge watch it, is what I'm saying. Yeah. But I'm like, oh, I can't get enough of it. Like to be honest with you, I like kept watching and watching. Dude, last night I watched The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. Like old movies just transcend. It's so weird how like those movies still are relevant today. Yeah, I've watched it like how many movies can you watch that are old, like older movies in the 90s that you
I can't get enough of them. Like I am the perfect candidate for the person they target. Like I'm so obsessed with it. Like I'm a sucker for nostalgia. Yeah, 100,000%. But the Rock, real quick, didn't they escape through the fan in that movie? Wasn't it? That's how they escaped. Was it that movie?
No, so they didn't escape through the fan. He got back in through like the infirmary room, where it was like it was timed and it was like fire and all this.
Like a fan or something that went.
No, it wasn't a fan. It was like gears or whatever. It was gears and fire, and he had to roll underneath it.
Check this out real quick. So I'm like a crazy. I have wild dreams. Like wild, like deep dreams, and sometimes I'll like interact with my dreams in real life. Yeah. So my wife, her and I were sleeping one night. It was before we were actually husband and wife, but we were together. We were hanging out. I'm sleeping. It's nuts. In the middle of the night, no lie, in my dream, like literally while I was sleeping, threw a pillow and hit the ceiling fan in the room, and the whole room starts shaking. My wife wakes me up. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. And then what happened was we had just got done watching The Dark Knight, which we talked. And for some reason, I thought Batman was chasing me, and I had to escape through a fan. So somehow my brain like processes this like thing to stop a fan, so I can get through it. I have no idea how true story though.
The pillow saved you, is what you're saying.
The pillow saved my life.
Well, you know what? Not every remake is good. You know, not every remake or like it's hard, but for some reason, like if it's a 90s reference for me, like I'm in, like 100%, I'm in 1000%. So it was weird to like I like look back on it, and I think you called me at one point in time and I said I'm watching this, and you're like, holy shit, like you're watching like just I was binge watching 90s movies all weekend and 90s shows, even though Cobra Kai is newer. But yeah, it's funny how we kind of go back to those things. Like you start to see that more and more and more now in today's like market, is that nostalgic. Even our logo, like our logo is from it was inspired by a WrestleMania, an old WrestleMania poster. So yeah, absolutely, man. Do you want to get this thing started?
Yeah.
You want to get this thing started?
I don't think they want to hear us ramble any more about small talk. But yeah, let's go ahead. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Prop Culture Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Matt Trader, and to my left, as usual, is my tag team partner in crime, property manager extraordinaire, Mr. Shane Snoots, ladies and gentlemen. Shane, tell these people what's going on today.
Let's get it. We're gonna get into some. We're gonna get in some convo today. Hopefully, it's interesting. Or it's gonna be an hour of just rambling. Yeah, one of the two.
But I tell you though, it's funny that you talk about nostalgia and you know how our set and everything looks like nostalgia, because I started weaponizing nostalgia in my marketing like 3 years ago. Yeah, like that was a big focus for me. You know, I mean, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah. Well, even your hat, your logo. You you came in, you gave us, you merch shouted us too. Like even these tees, and you can buy these still right now. These are nostalgic. Everything about them is based off of nostalgia. So I mean,
that's like literally that's like my old, like that setup was from the old Nintendo that I had as a kid on my parents' old school console TV.
Yeah, that's And they don't make stuff like that anymore, to be honest with you.
I do it, you know, for a lot of reasons. Number one, like I said before, I'm a sucker for nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like, it means something to me. I had a great childhood, and I really want to always pay homage to that. And so I pay homage to it through those things. But honestly, it's a little more methodical than that from a marketing strategy. And so what I noticed, so you know, being in commercial real estate, the people who control the assets mainly are older. They're all older. And I did extremely well for a long time, like just grinding it out, cold calling. And I could keep on doing that, and I still do that. That to me is the best way to make money.
Absolutely.
Is to call, personally contact, and connect the dots. But what I started thinking about 3 years ago was, what's my long-term play here?
Right.
Because the people who control the assets in these portfolios, they're going to eventually not be here any longer, or they're going to retire. Yeah. And so who's going to take those things over? And so I started thinking, you know, I need to speak to a younger generation to be able to sustain more long-term. Not that I wouldn't if I didn't do that. And one of the ways I decided to do that was through nostalgia. Yeah. You know, through, you know, trying to relate to them on the same level, because I'm the same age. I'm 41 years old. You know, we all watched WrestleMania 3. Yeah. We all played NBA Jam. We all played, you know, we all watched He-Man, Saturday morning cartoons. Right. So it was something that I felt I could connect with that generation who was eventually going to take over the assets, you know, and manage the accounts of their dads or their uncles or whoever it is, you know. And so that's, you know, one of the big focus and one of the reasons that I really started using nostalgia as a tool and weaponizing it, like I like to say.
Well, yeah, because I notice a lot in your videos, you kind of always reference back too. Like, you're always, you know, your social media marketing and all that stuff. You were kind of one of the first guys that stepped out on that ledge to kind of not be just a make a professional video. Hi, I'm such and such. I work at this brokerage. You know, have you thought about buying real estate? You actually kind of touched more on that retro like feel to things, and you weren't scared to go out on that ledge, which is different. Like in this space, you don't typically see realtors being kind of unique and market themselves as that kind of guy that pays homage to the past, but it's okay with sitcom-y kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I've seen so much of that stuff from you, so it's pretty cool to watch. And I see that you actually get responses from it. That's the cool part. Is like, you know, I'm not saying that me and you probably have the same demographic in terms of who we're looking for as clients, right? Yeah. And they probably aren't on, Facebook, or maybe Facebook, but they're not on Instagram. They're not on TikTok. They're not on those places looking. They're mainly your cold calls, you know, or your mailers or stuff like that. So it's kind of funny you bring that up, but like, when you're doing this stuff, what's your intent? You know, when you're making those videos, you're making these merchandise. What's your intent?
So honestly, it's funny you said, you know, I wasn't scared. Yeah. But the reality was, like, I was scared for a long time. You know, I had no intentions to ever getting into commercial real estate. It's just one of them things where life took me. Yeah. You know, and I talked about this on the first episode. You know, I was always into entertainment. You know, I tried to write sitcoms in college. I mean, that's what my buddy and I, who worked for Gracie Films, I was at UNCW, he's working for Gracie, you know, and we're literally writing treatments for sitcoms, and he's trying to pitch them out, and they just never go anywhere. Life takes me a different direction. I wind up in business. And, you know, when you are in the commercial real estate setting, everything is so business oriented, and you have to project as this businessman. You know, I'm the guy who wears the suit and tie every day. Yeah. But there was always this thing in the back of my mind and in my heart and my soul that was tugging at me, going, you gotta do something with your passions. Yeah. And this is something that went on. I mean, I struggled with for, I want to say a better part of a couple of years before I really got the courage to say, I'm going to let the world see who I am. And if they don't like it, well, they can kiss my ass. Like, I don't mean it like that, but I kind of do. Like, this is who I am. And so the very first video I ever shot was, I'm a huge Back to the Future fan.
I remember that.
Yep.
When was that?
That was 2.5 years. So it was July of 2019.
Well, do you want to know what's funny? Do you remember? So funny story is when me and you first officially met, like, we had talked. Yeah. It was at WrestleMania. We had a WrestleMania party at our office. Yeah. And like me and dude, you brought a martini kit like with you. The only dude I've ever seen bring a full-fledged martini kit in, and you had the olives, dude. You were the setup was unreal, and you were like, "This is just tradition, brother. Just get used to it." And I'm like, all right, I can't hate on it. Yeah. And I remember it was like, I think me and you might have been the last ones there because everybody had like trickled off. Yeah. And the whole time we were talking about this like in your head, you had already built this concept. And so I think it was it 18 or 19? Maybe it was the beginning of 19.
No, I don't think it was 19.
It was the beginning of the year. It was April 19, I think. Yeah. And I remember like that concept was already in your brain of like, I just want to do it. I just want to do it. And I remember being like, just do it, dude. Just do it. Like what's holding you back, you know?
Because like honestly, like I literally walked it was bothering me like really bad. Like I have like this creative brain, and if I don't release my creative energy in some way, shape, or form, it drives me like insane. Yeah, like nuts. And you know, so I had to figure out how I could tap into my passions, right? Yeah, but still be but still sell commercial real estate. And I was like, why can't I just bring them all together? Right. And it took me a year or two, and I'll tell you, and I actually talked about this on Brandon Hudson's podcast, the one event that triggered everything was my cousin who got me into, we played NBA Jam together. Yeah. Him and I, when I was a little kid, my cousin would sit me on the side of the bed. He was 8 years older than me, and we would pretend like we were on the radio. Right. So he got me into a lot of the things that I was naturally into. Yeah. And he passed away on September 10th. Or 9th, I think it was September 10th. It was the day before September 11th, I believe. Yeah. So September 10th, I think it was 2018. Yeah. And he was 45 years old. He died of muscular dystrophy. Yeah. And I was extremely close with him. Yeah. And he was a big influence on me. And when I went to see him after, I just missed him, right? So he just passed away, and I'm sitting there, you know, paying my last respects to my cousin. Yeah. And after I left the hospital that day, I was like, you know what, man, I don't have a disease or anything, but 45 is young. Oh, yeah. Like, and I just felt like I didn't want to have any regrets in my life at that point. Yeah. So that's when I decided, look, you know, I'm going to do what makes me happy. Right. And if people don't like it, I don't care. Right. Right. And so that's when I decided I needed to bring everything together. And the first video that I shot was the Back to the Future video. Right. I remember that. I love Back to the Future. Again, me paying homage to one of my favorite things in the world. But I started it with the old dinosaur guy from Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. Because to me, that represented how our industry felt. Yeah. See, this wasn't just me being passionate about something, but me saying and analyzing our business culture and saying everything feels so stuffy. Yeah. Like everybody is putting on like this image. Like everything doesn't have to be uptight. We can have fun and still do big deals, and we're doing big deals. Yeah. You know, so that's when I shot the video, and I showed the video of the old dinosaur guy, and then I come in and I'm like, look, man, like I'm here to change the way business is done. Yeah. That's boring. I may not be right or wrong about this, but I will not be boring. Yeah, well, you know, and so that's kind of what my initiative was. But go ahead. I'm sorry. No, and it's me but I think to your point, I think for the longest time we have the concept of marketing yourself has always been in this box, right? It's always when it comes to real estate, especially just on any side of the commercial, property management, you know, being a realtor, selling houses, whatever you're selling. You are stuck in this box of how you're supposed to present yourself. Yep. And I think that, you know, even when I got in 8 years ago, like if you were doing a podcast, it had to be nonstop about business. It was like, you know, just all the facts, nothing interesting. You're not really, you're not getting into who you are. It's just giving information, right? And what I found through time was we work in a people business. People either trust you or they don't. And that's how they do business, you know? And I think to your point now, like the younger generation, as we get, even my generation, like the millennials and downward, what their currency is clout. Yeah. It's not about, you could do 10 billion deals. If you don't market yourself, they don't care. But if they see you on a billboard, they see you online, they see, that's how they recognize you. You could do 0 deals, but if you have billboards
multiple videos, advertisements on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. You have stuff that's just content wise, like you know, on the cover of the Metropolitan, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's how now they trade. That's how their value of you is not you just sold a $1.2 million home,
exactly.
You know, and you're the most equipped for it. They're like, no, I saw this dude on the commercial for Football Sunday, or they're on Facebook. I seen one of those videos and it popped up. That is the new generation.
It is.
Is it, you know?
And it really, honestly, I don't know. In a way, it's probably kind of always been. It's always been marketing. It's always been front and center, you know. But I'm with you. The new generation.
I would say it's more clout than anything.
It is, and honestly, like it doesn't mean shit.
Well, it
doesn't mean shit at the end of the day, but you're right.
It's like what I'm saying is like it doesn't. You could be the most qualified human being in this world. You could have 100, but if you do not market yourself to this generation, maybe not to the previous. So we're talking different generation. The people who the people who are currently in hold of those assets, they know about you because you've told them about, you know, you're cold calling. They respect that sort of business. But the people coming up, what they respect is you actually adapting to them, is you putting yourself in front. They respect you going out on the ledge and being like, hey, you know, you're on Facebook. You're like, hey, I'm out in front of this home. This is, and you know what? That kind of really, it was front and center during the pandemic because you had to find different ways to showcase properties while people didn't want to go out and see them.
You absolutely did, honestly. I mean, and you're right. It is the new generation. People want content, you know, and people don't want to see. I'm not saying some people don't want to see it, but the same cookie cutter. Hi, I'm a real estate agent. Yada yada yada. I'm going to tell you about interest rates 1,000 times, or whatever. That
extremely
is.
Low interest rates. Like it's the same,
and it is informative. It really is. But I think people, they want something more with their business. They want something. You got to draw them in. It's like a speech.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, your opener to a speech is always something like, what's he doing? And then once you got them, you can redirect them however you want them. You know, so my strategies may be like, this guy's on here eating cereal. Like I do the cereal deals.
Right.
Like, what the hell is he eating cereal for? But I'm going to keep you around, and then guess what? I'm going to show you some property. Check this property out.
Yeah,
you know?
Subliminal marketing. Yeah. You're marketing without doing it. I think that's a huge thing that you kind of see now. Real estate agents are actually starting to open up a little more of their personality. You know what I mean? Especially the younger guys. They're like, how do I market myself? You know, I seen like there was a TikTok challenge or something like going on with real estate signs the other day. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like I wouldn't have seen this 8 years ago. You'd be a disgrace. Like you would be a disgrace. I'd be like, this guy's a clown. But now this is the generation that they want to buy homes, right? This is the generation they're marketing to. They're calling their friends, you know, if they're mid-20, 21 and up, they're like, hey, stop renting. Let me sell you a home. Because I'm sure you've heard it 100 times, extremely low interest rates. Interest is low inventory. Buy now, buy now. But that's who they're marketing to. And I can guarantee you right now, that generation, the millennials down, probably know more about real estate than just if you asked them, did you know about interest rates? They'd probably tell you yes, because they probably have a friend in real estate, right? At this point, they probably have a friend in real estate, and they've heard that video of extremely low interest rates or no inventory. I know that the inventory's down because I always see the video, right? So, I mean, in a way, it's just kind of, it's forcing people to be in, you know, if you do enough content, enough people around you know, it's just you staying relevant. You know what I mean? In front of that. You have to be the one that's leading the pack.
Exactly. And the thing is, my thing isn't really, it is marketing, but majority of it's not really marketing. I'm not really always trying to sell you anything. No. I'm just trying to, I like producing content. Yeah. I love the arts, you know, I love being creative, and you know, adding 5% or 1 or 2% of real estate here or there gives my stuff purpose. It gives it a reason for it to exist, other than just what's this guy on here shooting videos for. One of the things that I did early on when I made the bold move, because people were like, "What the hell are you doing?" I shot the Ric Flair video. Yeah. And I remember you calling me like, "Dude, what did you just drop the promo on the whole commercial real estate industry?" Yeah.
No, I loved it, dude.
And after I did that, it was like, you start kind of feeling the energy of, dude, are you committing career suicide here? Like you're already successful. Why are you shooting a Ric Flair promo video? You know? And so what I did was I went home and I sat down and I tried to explain myself, because I really didn't want people. I wanted people to realize that it was more about something else to me than just marketing. I wanted to give people a reason for it. So I went home that day and I sat there and I just explained myself. And when I released that video of me telling everybody why I was doing what I was doing, I realized I was getting better feedback from that than all these other creative videos that I was doing.
Yeah.
And that's how Whiskey Sessions got formed.
Yeah.
Because I had a glass of whiskey next to me while I was shooting it. Yeah. And everybody was like, man, that was awesome. I want more of those things. Yeah. So I was like, man, I need to produce just me being just my thoughts.
But I think you as a whole, I look at it this way. Like, real estate agents, no matter what brokerage they work for, no matter what team they are on, you have to worry about, are you a brand in yourself? Like, are you somebody that transcends through no matter what company you're with, no matter what team you're on? Do people come to you, or do they come to the brand?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do they come to you, and have you done enough? And it doesn't mean that you have to be on Facebook and doing all those things, because Lord knows I'm not one of those guys. I do not look to be on Facebook for anything. When I do stuff, it's for the podcast, but I'm like the one of those guys that I like. My thing is being personal to my clients. Yeah. Like, when I'm in meetings with clients, I don't even pull my phone out. Like, my phone is either not in my car or it's in my pocket. And how many ever missed calls I have is how many missed calls I have. Awesome. Because it's like, for me, I'm locking in with you. So when I meet with landlords, investors, all that stuff, it's important for them to know that they have 100% of my attention. Yeah. And whatever they need from me. And that's where I've seen, like,
that's awesome, by the way.
Well, that's like but that's the mindset I had. Was, if you lock in, no matter who it is, just don't take your phone out, And I know some days that if I'm on a showing or something and I'm getting, hammered on the phones, sometimes I will pull it out just to say, hey, I'm in a meeting. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah. But if I'm in a big meeting, if I'm meeting with a landlord, I'm meeting with an investor, it is of the utmost importance to show them the time. I don't care if they have their phone out. Yeah, yeah. I think it's just one of those things where, for me, business-wise, I always thought about it in the old school way, and I think you touched on this because you still do it a lot, is cold calling, door knocking, and mailers. Like, that will always be a key to our business. I don't care who's in control. Because there is a level of respect that you get from. There's times where people will cold call me about something, and I will literally, I might not even need it, but I'm like, dude, I respect this person. So, like, it takes a lot of courage to know you're gonna pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, can I interest you in buying, a year subscription of Sports Illustrated? It's something that no one's ever gonna read. Like, I don't, that's a thing of the past. You go online. But somebody will still do it. They will still call you for whatever it is, even when we're out and somebody stops you. Hey, do you have a second? Can I interest you in this product? You're like, that's a hustle. Like, it takes a lot to do that. So,
the phone is my greatest weapon. Like, I always say that. Like, I would rather talk to anybody. I've shot whiskey sessions about this. I would rather talk to somebody than email any day of the week. Now, I don't know if mailers, because we're going paperless more and more every day. So I don't know if traditional mailers, maybe that migrates into email or something, a text message on your phone. But cold calling will always exist, in my opinion. Or not cold calling, but just the phone and voice-to-voice, face-to-face interaction. That's the most important thing to me.
Let me just say this. So, like, in terms of mailers, so, like, I found there's two things about mailers. It's similar to what the whole perception is. If you're in front of someone all the time, you'll finally get the attention, right? So you can't just send one mailer out and think that's going to do anything. No, you have to literally. So what we started to do, I would buy a list. So every like 3 to 4 months, because they update, you go on, you buy a list of numbers and addresses, right? Yeah, yeah. So what we started to do was we started to personally, like, personalize them so it looked like it was a written letter to you, right? Yeah. And then, I would come up with like a catchy phrase. Like, we would put like, don't gamble with your investment. you know, and then we would put like $1 scratch off in there, and then we would mail it. And the return rate on that, it was insane. The amount of phone calls that I got just to call, either good, bad, or indifferent, the amount of people, the feedback that I got, you were like, this is working. This is like, if you do this enough.
Yeah.
And it's, again, because people are into it. Like, if they have an investment property, in my eyes, and for you too, this is similar to you. I got multifamily units off of this, where it was like they were still mom and pops that were managing them, and they were like, "You've sent me 70 mailers." Like, it just was, consistency is key, and it will always be consistency in our business that goes through. So I do think that mailers have and they always will, because they're not going to stop running the mail. Emails can filter out spam. You can't filter me out from sending you a mailer.
That's a good point. You don't think that we'll one day not have paper? Like, I mean, honestly.
No, I don't think it's the same thing as, like, do you think we'll ever be without gas? Not in our lifetime.
That's true.
Not in our lifetime.
That's a good point.
And not in our lifetime. Well, we're not ever, you're never going to, there's never going to be where we're all electric.
Yeah.
Just our dependency on that stuff, even paper, to this day.
Yeah.
People will literally go, I want that contract in paper. Can you take that and print it for me?
That's true. No. Yeah, that's true. I have clients to do the same thing.
So it doesn't matter. I think for our future, foreseeable future, that's just the way the things are. And I think that if you can, just like, okay, so like, for instance, billboards, right? Yeah. Like, will billboards become a thing of the past? No, because visually, people want to be in front of you. Right? Yeah, while you're driving.
No, you're right. But how many times are you riding shotgun? So maybe if you're driving, you see the billboard. But if I'm riding shotgun, man, the majority of the people are all on their phones looking down. Would it make more sense just to spend the money on trying to get at the top of the Google list, or, at the top of the algorithms for Facebook, than it would to be spending money on the billboards? I don't know.
I think that subconsciously, if you're up looking, and your brain will process seeing a face, seeing a number, and at some point in time, you will look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, it's just about consistency. So you can't pay for 1 month of a billboard. It's like, you keep that billboard up for 12 months. Yeah. Then people are like, you're the dude on the billboard. You're that guy, aren't you? And I think over time, because how many times, I had a billboard, and the reaction by like month 12 compared to the first month, people were like, you're the dude that had the billboard, right? Out by, Pep Boys or whatever. And it was funny because it wasn't until the year, like, when people were it's subconsciously, they just seen your face. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just a picture of my big old head, like, on there. You know what I mean? And even if they were looking down, they still seen it. So subconsciously, your mind does that. And remember, I called you the other day, and I was like, why don't you make your signs white? Because I said the black signs kind of blend in. Remember, I called you about that.
So it's funny you talk about the subconscious, right?
Yeah.
Because my whole thing is trader, real estate, entertainment.
Right.
And I know that sounds clunky, right?
Right.
And when I originally started everything with my marketing, I just kind of said, I'm going to shoot a couple videos just to kind of tap into my soul and get it out there. And that would maybe be it everywhere. Then when I started doing it more and more, I was like, well, I need a name for this.
Right.
So I started with Trader Studios, Trader yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Trader Real Estate Entertainment. And I was like, it's too long. But then I thought about it. And I was like, wait a minute. What's the acronym? TRE. Tree.
Yeah.
So my whole marketing strategy became, every time you see a tree, you think of Trader. So subconsciously, I want people to walk outside, and every time they see a tree, I'm in the back of their mind.
Yeah.
So now my billboards are everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what's funny? I think not even...
You know what I'm saying? But it's all psychological.
To your credit, like, I've almost tied you in my brain to, like, nostalgic stuff.
Yeah.
Like the TV, like if I go somewhere and I see, like, the old school Nintendos and stuff like that, I'm like, I just think of Trader, because you've kind of branded it towards who you are. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which, again, subconsciously, I don't think you were like, I want to be that big old box TV. But, like, it's one of those ways where it comes back to you no matter what. Like, you're like, oh, I'm thinking about, Trader right now when I see this. So, I mean, the people in our industry, especially in real estate, because if anybody, has been paying attention, like, Zillow is a brokerage now. So Zillow has gotten into the real estate game. They became a brokerage. And I think every day you start to see like a Redfin or something where they're, you know, it's like self-show or agents are getting paid, you know, fees just to open doors and stuff like that. And I think what will always be needed in our industry is that personal touch. And that's what the agents that thrive in personal touch and branding will be here for as long as they want to be. Yeah. But if they're not into that, you know, branding themselves or making something their own. Like literally when I came down, I think we talked about it on the first episode, was I looked at Brandon and I was like, I don't want to sell real estate. I want to do property management. This is my own lane. Yeah. Like I want to be a part of my own thing. And that's what property management, like I've took that and ran with it. That's who I am. That's what I do. I don't sell real estate. People ask me all the time, they're like, hey, would you sell? I'm like, I have somebody on my team that will. But I do this because that's what, you know, I branded myself to just be in property management and rentals. That's what I want to do. And it's easier when you pick a lane and you stick with it, right? Instead of trying to be, I'm in commercial, I'm in residential, I'm in this, I'm in that. Everyone looks at you, go, you're fly by the night. Like, what are you going to be in next week? You know?
No, right? I just did a video on this the other day. I talked about, because we're so oversaturated with real estate agents. And the inventory is getting so low that now we've got more people chasing a smaller piece of the pie. So you're naturally going to see people who were making lots of money now say, well, I'm not making as much money because the inventory is low. I got more competition. So I'm going to, you know, they're going to migrate into different sectors to try to get all the money they can. So I shot the video saying you need to find a specialist, whether it's a property manager or whether it's a commercial realtor or whatever it is. It's like, you know, would you want an eye doctor to perform heart surgery on you? Oh, no. Probably not. So why would you go get a residential agent to help you sell a $10 million shopping center?
But it's also about fees, though, brother. Like, it's also about fees. See, like, what is your time worth? You know what I mean? And see, here's the thing. Like, for you being a specialist in that, you know what goes into it. From here to here, you know what your time is worth, right? And if somebody jumps into that field, they do not understand it. So they're willing to undersell themselves to get that, right? So that's a part of it I've never understood.
You get what you pay for, though.
But you know what? But like people who are companies and people who like are willing to do certain things and basically do it cheaper to cut another agent out, you're hurting yourself because you still have to perform the same amount of work. And what people don't understand, in any real estate transaction, commercial, rentals, sales, the amount of time that you spend, people think it's easy, but really you're the conduit to everything else. You know, we had Brandon Ross on last week talking about how he's the bearer of bad news, but for a real estate agent, we're the one plugging in everything. We're the one scheduling all these things, making sure that the actual, like, the cruise is going as planned.
And when things go wrong, we're always the one that gets to blame. We're not only doing all the work from a business side, but we're also a therapist in a way too. So we're dealing with the emotional side and the business side. You know, and when things go great, it's, oh, your job's so easy, you just made all this money. When things go wrong, it's, well, let's blame the realtor. He screwed this deal up, you know.
And I think the unfortunate part is a lot of people have not. It's easy to walk in, not, you know, to look from the other side of the counter when you're looking at somebody, you know. But when you walk a mile in their shoes, all of a sudden you realize, you're like, oh, this is not what I want to be in. Because, you know, you get into a deal and something starts to, you know, go off of course, like you said, it's easy when everything's 100%, you know, there. But how many times would you say that's accurate, that it's as easy as pie? Like, I can't even count probably on two hands, like those kind of deals where it's not something where last minute I'm trying to facilitate this. Oh, we need to get this in the house. We need to do this. We need, blah, blah, blah. Because it's always a part of, we have to manage chaos. We have to be agents of chaos.
And we have to go out and find the chaos to manage.
Correct. Yep.
That's even harder. We're searching for the chaos. To manage. I mean, it's difficult.
I agree. You know, I think that piece for us is always going to be huge. And without that, you can't pay a Redfin. You can't pay a company a fee to manage that, because that's never going to, you want to pay 1% to sell your house. Well, it's great. Like, I also want things very cheap. I'm going to go to the professional that does that, right? And again, it ties back into marketing, and who's the most qualified, right?
Yeah.
So it's always going to tie back into those things. And the person who, like Macho said, the cream rises to the top, brother.
And it's funny because,
hey, the cream rises to the top. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. I'm joking right now. I'm unjustifiably in a position I'd rather not be in right now. Ooh, yeah.
But it's funny you talk about you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
My wife's in insurance, and she's always on call.
Yeah.
Like if you have an insurance problem, you can call and talk to the owner of the business.
Yeah.
All the time. Same thing with me. Same thing with you.
Yeah.
Right? You can go pay Zillow or one of these other companies 1%, 2%, and you're going to get an automated robot. Don't complain about the automated robot. And Brandon actually just did a video with Maurice. If you haven't seen it, Brandon Birmingham just put out a great commercial because it drives me crazy. Put out a commercial talking about the process of people being on the phone saying, I just want to speak to a human representative.
Yeah.
And that spoke to me.
Yeah.
I mean, because I can't stand it. Like literally, I will give the most vague answers, hoping that it will just trigger them to be like,
get you an operator.
Yeah, just give me an operator.
You just push zero? Are you one of them cats that just, because I'll do that, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and like,
they'll be like, tell us the reason for your call. I'll be like, I just want to speak to a representative. I just want to speak to a representative. I'll say the same. Finally, they'll just be like, all right, fine. Like, just give the guy a damn representative.
Yeah.
But that commercial was awesome, but it's true. But branding, let's go back to branding real quick.
Yeah.
We were on that subject, and you talked about something to me that's important, and that's, in today's time, you have to be able to transcend the environment that you're in some way, shape, or form. I think you touched on that, and that's what I think a lot of agents today need to focus on is themselves from a branding perspective, because God forbid something happens to their brokerage tomorrow, are they going to be able to survive? Are people going to know who they are without the broker's letters in front of them?
Yeah,
and
no, I agree.
Because something could, and I don't know if a lot of agents are focusing on that enough.
Yeah. In our industry, the strongest will survive, and it doesn't mean numbers. The people who are true to who they are will survive.
Yeah.
Those are the same agents that when I got into real estate, they're still around now, and they'll still be around after this boom, per se. Because I do worry a little bit about a lot of the new agents getting in. When you start seeing agents that are part-time agents having success, that's when people should start being like, this is alarm, because these guys just got their real estate license selling homes. They did $3 million, $4 million in production, and you're like, okay, because $4 million, $5 million a year ago in our market was great for a full-time guy, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you start seeing that at a part-time level, you're like, oh, this is not good. And I know, again, we talked about it last week with Brandon Ross. I guess the hot button issue, no one wants to kind of jump off the cliff and say, oh, it's going to go or this or that. I would always just say I just think if and when the market tightens up, the strongest will survive. Uh-huh. The Brandon Brittinghams, the Pam Prices, the Tommy Burdett's, the Bob Sinagras, those guys will, because they've created this brand. Will Brown, those guys are genuine to who they are, and they're going to be around.
Bob's done it so quietly.
Bob is very quiet.
Bob's done it so quietly, but that's just who Bob's always been.
But he's so genuine, and I think
he was supposed to be on the show with us today.
Yeah, I bring that up.
I don't know if it's my scene, but we're going to get Bob on here.
No, we're going to get him to come out. And I think to his credit, he will fight for his client. Like, to his credit, like, he will lose a deal. He doesn't care about the money. The money is not to him, and I think that's where, real estate agents have to be. It's who cares about the commission?
Yeah.
If I have to be able to look you in the eyes, especially when you're buying a home or selling a home. You have to be able to look that person in the eye 10 years from now and say, I gave you a good investment.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
And the same thing with you. If someone is buying $1 million property, $2 million, $3 million, and you're convincing them why it's a good deal, right? You're like, hey, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the NOI. You have to be able to look at them and be like, I didn't sell you a POS because of the money. And I think that's one of the big things about dude, when I started, I don't care about like when I told our owners, because a lot of owners ask me, how do you handle applications? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, what we do is we pre-qualify before we take anyone out to see the property, right? Yeah. Because again, we want to make sure that we're taking out somebody that we know that can pass the application process, right?
Yep.
And I was like, so it's not about getting 10,000 applications at one time, because that doesn't mean that you get the most qualified human being that meets the criteria that you want in your home, right?
Yeah.
And that's important, is like they come to a real estate company to use their criteria, whatever it is, right? They're using us for property managers because they want to use our application process and all that stuff, right? So it's fair. It's fair and in balance. I don't care what it is it comes down to. Like, if you meet the criteria, we're putting you in that house.
Yeah.
But it's also, I would rather wait 3 months to find you the person that's going to take care of it and do all the right things than to just turn around and rent the house to the first application, right? And that's where I think it comes down to, is when you look at the client more than you do the dollar. And I'm not saying, I'm not calling anybody, that's not slight. I just think a lot of times from the outside, I always hear real estate agents only care about money. It's like, no, dude, I don't care about any of that, because I got to look you in the eyes. I got to look that owner in the eyes.
Not just that. You got to look that mirror in the eye.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be able to lay your head down every night and know that you did the right thing for your client, not for your pocketbook or your wallet.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And I always said some of the best deals I've ever done are deals that never happened.
Right.
Because I kind of, told my clients, you might not want to do this, or you might not want to do that.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to talk too much, because you don't want to talk them out of something that was right.
Right.
And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe in a home, it's a little bit easier to have that conversation with somebody, but in commercial real estate, sometimes you might not see what somebody else sees from an investment standpoint or from a value standpoint.
Yeah.
So you don't want to talk them out of it too much, but you do want to advise them to the best of your ability so that they, make a good decision, and so that you can lay your head down and know that that to me, that's a long-term business approach. Chasing the money is short-term. That's a short-term business approach there.
Well, and I think like that's the biggest thing, is like because we don't make the application decision, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, what I do is I bring the application and I get the application. I send it over to the owner for final approval.
Yeah.
Because again, my job is to be the conduit between owner and tenant, right?
Yep.
So I'm not making the final decision. When they ask, do you know this person? No, I don't know them. All I know is on paper. Yeah. That's what I know. So you tell me with the best judgment that I brought you a passing application or approved application. Do you want to move forward? 99 to 100% of the time. Yes, if it's a passing application, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's what I always tell them. Do you pay me to find you people who don't meet the qualifications, that you don't? Because that's why they're calling you. Why somebody would call you is they want you to find they don't want you to show that commercial complex to Joe Blow off the street that just wants to see it, right? They're paying you to find the gem that wants to pay that price for it and get it locked in, right? And that's what we do as agents. Sales side's the same thing. If you're judged on how many people walk through the home that are not pre-qualified, do they care? Because they can't buy the house, right?
You're right. Yeah.
They can't buy the house. It's the same thing. It's the same thing across the board. Is you're not paid to just do tours. You're paid to find the person that will buy, rent, sell any of those homes. Your home.
You're paid to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. You're paid to close.
That's it. You're paid to close, and that's it, man.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you can make the greatest move ever, juke the guy out, go up for a slam dunk, but if you get rim jammed. Well, that's not what you get paid for. You get paid to flush the ball and close.
That's it. And it's again, that's why in our industry, I think no matter what, as long as you are always following the guidelines that are, because we as realtors, we have guidelines that we have to follow by, like fair housing, all that stuff. As long as we're doing everything in our power and making sure that our clients are just happy. That's the point. That is the biggest point here, is making sure that your client is happy.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're also following and abiding by all the restrictions, guidelines, all that stuff. Dude, then you're doing your job. The people who are just short term, like, man, I just want to jam this person in this, I need to get this deal done, they won't be here 2 years from now.
And sadly, that's probably 80% of realtors. I don't know about 80%, but that's a lot of
I mean,
realtors,
I heard some staggering number of real estate agents that got into, like, so I was with a broker of Long and Foster like 2 weekends ago, and I heard the amount of new agents, and I forget, like, I don't want to misquote. I'm like, oh my gosh, like the amount of people that have their real estate license is insane. And I think scary part,
I think it's 3 to 1 agents to listings, something like that, or more.
So think about how many clients you have walking through. Yeah. So it's been insane in terms of this time. And it's, again, how many people are looking for the benefit compared to, if you're getting into this job just for money, this is the wrong profession for you.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what anybody says, and I'll say that wholeheartedly, is if you're getting into this job because you see glitz and glam and money, you're in for the wrong thing. Because to me, when I got in, dude, my checks were not big.
Yeah.
But my belief was we could offer something better. Right? Yeah. Or I could enhance the experience. And that's the difference is, can you bring something different? Can you change that? Right? You
shouldn't do, in my opinion, anything for money. Don't get me wrong. We all want to make money.
Yeah.
But kind of the segue back to where we started, like looking at it from a branding perspective and from the content perspective, when I produce my content, I'm not doing it to sell. I don't care if it sells. Yeah. I'm doing it for the art. You focus on the art, and the art will always last. If you put the money before the art and put the money before your soul, it may sell, but I don't think it's going to have the same shelf life. You always put the art first, and the money follows, maybe, hopefully, whatever. And I think the same thing we're talking about in business is put the client first.
Oh, yeah.
And the money will follow. That's a long-term outlook.
Absolutely.
Short-term is putting money first. That's why you have so many one-hit wonders out there, in music, because they just said, I'm going to do it. I can write a song that sounds like Ice Ice Baby or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's going to sell, and I'm going to make one hit, but it doesn't sustain because it was never about the art. It was about the money.
Well, and you see that with players. Some players they work their whole rookie contract. They're beasts.
Yeah.
They play it out and they get paid. Terrible.
Yeah.
They're terrible after they get paid because they're done. Yeah. All they did was spend all of that time to get paid. Then once they get paid, how many? I'd like to see the statistic on that. Like how many, how many people, rookie contracts were balling out. Basketball, baseball, football, every sport. And then after that, dude, I would love to see the statistic of after that, how many years they're in the league.
That's a good thought,
because like, think about it. Like running backs, you draft a running back today.
Can we get that, Maurice? Can you do some homework and find out?
Yeah, let's get the statistic.
I want to know the stat on that. If anybody has the stat on that, we will give you a free feature right here on Prop Culture. You come in and give us that stat, you get an hour with us right here on Prop Culture.
Absolutely.
That would be fantastic. Somebody out there bring us that stat.
I bet you would be a staggering number. I bet there would be a staggering number of how many people got paid after their rookie deal and they just flamed out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people I could think of. Like, there's, like, just off the top of my head, like, I mean, I know, like, Cowboys fans, like, people are going to hate this, but Zeke, after he got paid, he's been terrible before that, right? Like, he was good for 2 years.
Yeah.
Think about every running back in the last 8 years. Like, after their shelf life of 4 years of whatever their contract, they're done.
So this is a great example.
They're done.
Look at Tom Brady. Not to say Tom Brady doesn't get big money, but Tom Brady is routinely taking pay cuts year after year, still playing. He's playing for something more than money.
Oh,
he's playing for rings. He's playing for championships.
Well, that's the people
because that's what means. It means
sustainable.
More. Exactly,
dude. Buffalo is doing that right now. That's what I'm happy to see. All these guys are restructuring on our team. Yep. They understand if we're going to get to the Super Bowl, if we're going to win, we have to be, we have to be less selfish about. Yeah. We have to be selfless in terms of being like, hey, it's not about me. It's about the team. Like I'll give back $3 million, $4 million, just so you can sign Von Miller, just so you can sign those dudes.
People make the biggest mistake because they think money makes them, and right, and it may make you a great life while you're here, and you can experience some great things while we're vacationing on this earth.
Yeah.
But when you're gone, money is not everything they remember about you. That's the thing. There's more to leave this world. Actually, I did an episode, Whiskey Sessions, episode 30, called Relics. You guys look it up on the Trader Real Estate Entertainment Facebook page or YouTube. Maurice and I put this together almost a year ago.
Yeah, the burial scene, right?
It really talks about why. Yeah, no, not the burial one, the one by the bonfire.
Yeah, yeah,
and
it
talks about why I've been doing everything I've been doing and how, you know, what I want to leave the world, you know, it are these relics, are, you know, these videos, this digital footprint, these car archives. So if I'm not around, you can see who I was. Nobody's going to sit there and say, oh, that guy made billions of dollars, so we're going to remember him. Maybe, don't get me wrong, you could probably have your name on a library or something, which would be really cool, you know, but I think it's more than money, and it should always be more than money, you know.
And you know, and it's to kind of wrap this up into a ball, wrap it all up into a ball. I think the reason why you do it is important. The reason why I wake up every morning is because I have a purpose in my brain.
Yeah.
I have a purpose to enhance myself and my family's life and everyone who's around me.
Yeah.
I'm willing to break my back. I'm willing to die on that mountain as long as it means the people around me have a better life. Exactly. And I don't care what that, but I'm never going to sell my soul, but I will work until I can't work anymore. And that's, you know, and I will do everything I can to do that. And the purpose of that is I'm genuine. When I sit in your living room, when I sit out at lunch, dinner, wherever, you're getting 100% me.
Yeah.
I'm not putting on. And I think that's what we've kind of established today. It's like the people who will transcend past today to 10 years from now, it's about marketing.
Yep.
And it's also adapting to what markets you're in, right? But also just being who you are.
Exactly.
And not being that square like, hey, I'm such and such from Joe Blow Real Estate. I want to talk to you about the nice low interest rates. Did you know about those? And we have really low inventory. Did you know that? We can sell your house for top dollar. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah. Because
be who you are.
People see through that shit.
Exactly.
People see through it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't come off as authentic, especially when they know you.
Yeah.
You know, don't get me wrong. You can be both people. You could be both people. I could be the guy in the flat brimmed in the music, you know, MTV shirt, and the guy who's uber professional in the tie. I know Maurice, I think, wants us to start wrapping it up.
So
the segue, I will leave you guys with this. We're talking about money, and you know I'm a big Jay-Z fan, so you know I'm going to hit you with a Jay-Z line. Before we get out.
Leave it. Hey, wrap us up with this.
Jay-Z has a line from the song "History." Hopefully, I don't mess this up, but he says, "I'm not in it for the fame that dies within weeks. Ain't in it for the money. Can't take it when you leave. I want to be remembered long after you breathe, so I leave my fate in the hands of history." Something like that. But that's what I think everybody should focus on that.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to branding, we have a guy who's done an extraordinary job with self-branding coming on the show next week. We're going to have a lot of fun talking to Tommy Burdett. Tommy Burdett, the racing realtor. We're probably going to go in a lot of different directions with Tommy on this show. It's going to get wild.
Let's give one last shout out. Speaking of branding.
Okay.
What are we currently sitting in? We're sitting in The Brand.
The Brand, that's right.
We got to shout him out, even though but listen, he's marketed himself so well, and I have been a part of his growing process. It's so awesome that I'm sitting here, you know, every week we come here to his studio. So shout out to him, man.
Shout out
Seriously,
to Maurice Waters
we appreciate
from
you.
The Brand. This is the place you guys want to do your podcast. Unbelievable. So while we're here, we may as well plug. This episode today is brought to you by Rainier Development Company, Maryland and Delaware Group of Long and Foster, Trader Real Estate Entertainment, and The Brand Digital Media, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, we will see you next time right here only on Prop Culture.